Welcome to Bull TV, where we are bullish on Collierville. I'm your host, David Pickler. Bull TV is a monthly show that empowers, educates, and entertains while highlighting the citizens of Collierville who inspire and deliver solutions for a stronger community. Bull TV is presented by Pickler Companies and is proudly produced by the students of Collierville High School. We invite you to watch our show at www.bulltv.show, thebullnetwork.com, and CHS TV 19. New episodes air on the second Sunday of every month at 3 p.m. Central Time. On today's show, we sit down with Maureen Fraser, Vice Mayor of the town of Collierville and affiliate broker with John Green & Company Realtors. Join us for this inside look at how Maureen juggles a busy schedule while remaining engaged with her community. Don't miss this exciting show as we discuss her path to public service, the importance of giving back, and the joys and challenges of servant leadership. Today I'm joined by Maureen Fraser. Currently in her fifth term, Alderman Fraser has served as Vice Mayor in 2006, 2008, and from 2012 to present. Maureen and her family became residents of Collierville in 1995, and as most parents do, she immediately became an active member of the community through the PTA at her children's schools. She is now serving as the Alderman Liaison to the Parks Advisory Board, the Tourism Advisory Board, and Main Street Collierville. A member of the Collierville Chamber of Commerce, she has been a board member of Main Street Collierville, Leadership Collierville, Friends of the Morton Museum of Collierville History, Collierville Schools Faculty Planning Committee, Collierville Schools Portrait of a Graduate Initiative, and previously served on the Design Review Commission and Planning Commission. Maureen is a charter member of the Collierville Library Board and worked with the Comprehensive Plan Committee, Collierville Education Foundation, Collierville Elementary PTA, and Collierville High School PTSA Board of Managers. Wow. She's also served as a Girl Scout leader and as a recreational basketball and volleyball coach. Maureen is an affiliate broker and marketing and promotions manager with John Green & Company Realtors. She's a lifetime member of the Memphis Area Association of Realtors Multi-Million-Dollar Club, and in 2020, she received the MAAR Outstanding Leadership Award, a recipient of many community and professional recognition awards. She was most recently recognized as the Collierville Chamber of Commerce 2019 Collierville Person of the Year. Very well deserved. Maureen received the H.R. Houston Leadership Award in 2013, the Spirit of Giving Award from Main Street Collierville in 2012, was the 2002 recipient of the C.H. Harrell Education Foundation Award, and was named the 2002 Collierville Volunteer of the Year. She and her husband David are the parents of 3 Collierville Schools graduates, Brittany, Andrew, and Abby. The Frasers are active members of the Catholic Church of the Incarnation. Wow, you gotta take a breath after that
Man,
word.
that makes me tired. No wonder why I'm so tired all the time.
Well, thanks for joining us here on Bull TV. We're really excited to have you.
It's nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I watch the shows faithfully, so I was always asked, when am I going to be on the show? So here we are.
You're here, and we're excited to have you.
And I'm really nervous. Thank you.
So since you have watched all the shows, then the first question should not be a surprise.
Yes.
But in 3 words, who is Maureen Fraser, other than a very tired lady?
Well, you know, that's an interesting question because I've thought about it, and I've asked a lot of people, you know, how would you describe, because I always tell myself, it depends on the time of the day of the week. Mm-hmm. How do you describe myself? Because it varies so much depending on what I have going on. So I've asked a lot of people, you know, I asked my children, how would you describe your mother in 3 words? And so those answers are a lot different than others. I had a meeting prior to this, and I asked someone, I said, how would you describe me if you had 3 words? Mm-hmm. So to put all that together, it's different opinions. Mm-hmm. Dedicated,
Good.
honest, and witty.
I like that. Those are three great words: dedicated, honest, and witty.
If I had a fourth, it'd be exhausted. But
Exhausted. I think we've just seen why. Goodness. So, with all the things that you've done and the incredible engagement that you've had in this community over the past over 25 years, what is your favorite part of living and working here in Collierville?
my favorite part is it isn't being involved in the community. I mean, we're over 50,000 people, but we're still a small town. And there's a lot of the history that I know, but there's a lot of the history I don't know. You don't know who's related to whom or who's, where everything lies. But just getting to know the community and learning more about it each and every day. But the favorite part that I have is obviously getting involved and giving back. There's so many awesome organizations, and I've only been involved in a few of them, but there's so many that are so welcoming to everyone who wants to be involved in the community.
Well, I think it's one of the great things about Collierville. It really is a community. It's a community, first of all. It's a small town, even though we're one of the largest cities in the state now.
We are.
But it still has that small town feel. And I think when you go down to the town hall, to the town square, and you go there and you experience that sense of community, it's just a wonderful and engaging experience.
It is, and so many people care about the community. It's amazing how many messages you get when they're resodding. Why are we resodding the square? Just people are really, really engaged, and they care. They want to know what's going on. They want to be informed.
Absolutely. Now, you and David have three incredibly bright children. So tell me a little bit about them. Tell me a little bit about the career paths that they've taken in their lives.
Okay. My oldest, Brittany, she's now in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay.
She, for the longest time, wanted to be a physician, and she is fulfilling her dream. She's in her residency, and I'll probably get choked up. I'll try not to, because I still can't believe I have a doctor in the family. She is working on her residency in vascular surgery.
Wow.
So it's a 5-year residency. She's in her 3rd year now.
Okay.
So she's in Little Rock, loves it. Went to Collierville High School. She was in the ACT. I think they still have ACT 30 and above club here. She worked really hard. She took a lot of Latin because she knew in high school that was her ultimate goal, was to be a physician.
Right.
I've never taken Latin, so I was no help to her. Andrew.
They say there's no language like a dead language.
That's true. That's true. She was in marching band when she was here, and she played volleyball. So, I've always tried to get my kids involved in things. My son, Andrew, graduated from Collierville High in 2013.
Okay.
He went on to Purdue University, which was my alma mater as well as my husband's. And ever since he was a little fella, that's where he always wanted to go. So his degree is in agriculture, sales, marketing, and he's got another name for it, but I don't know what it is. But he works now for a company here in Memphis. He has a little house here in Collierville, and is doing exactly what he wants to be doing. We say he's an oil salesman.
Okay.
He works for Stratus Foods, and they're the #1 distributor of cooking oil.
Okay.
So he's in the oil business, but not the Texas kind of oil. And then Abby, she's my teacher. In 4th grade at Collierville Elementary School, several of her teachers, they were kind of her mentors, and she knew at 4th grade that she wanted to be a school teacher. So she has decided, she went to the University of South Carolina. Now, my kids didn't go to schools around here. They wanted to be away. I think they wanted to make a name for themselves wherever they were. So she stayed in South Carolina, and she's teaching at Chapin Elementary School.
Oh.
And she's a 2nd grade teacher. So as a mom, I'd love for her to come back and work in Collierville schools, but I don't think she wants to be known as Maureen's daughter.
Well, sometimes if you're involved in public service, you can cast a bit of a long shadow.
That's true. That's true.
Maybe someday. But you cast a very good shadow.
Yeah, well, maybe someday she'll come back. But she likes her independence, and she likes being over there. It's about an 8-hour drive.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So before we dive too deeply into your role as an alderman, let's talk about your day job.
Okay.
And tell us, the viewers, a little bit about what you do with John Green and Company Realtors. Of course, John's such an iconic person in his community, just such a great man. But tell me a little bit about what the day in the life of Maureen Fraser, Realtor, looks like.
Well, fortunately, everything in the real estate business and with the town is pretty flexible. So I have my set meetings with the town, so I work my real estate around that. So every day is different. I try my best to do everything I can the night before I go to sleep, because you never know what the next day will bring.
No, you don't.
Real estate, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You work when you have clients that want to want you to help them. And I love helping. That's my whole thing, is helping people. So it varies every day, but I'm usually at the real estate office by usually 8:15 in the morning. It is my full-time job. If I'm not there by 9, people are like, where's Maureen? Where's Maureen? So I'm an independent contractor, so I'm not an employee. But I have my real estate license with John Green and Company. My background actually was in hotel and restaurant management.
Oh, really?
So a lot of people may not know that, but that was my degree. I was going to college to be in dietetics, and this chemistry was just not my thing. So I moved over to hotel and restaurant management. I've worked at about 7 years after college.
Okay.
Mostly rooms division, so like reservations, the numbers, the hospitality part, where the front office, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then it was hard because you would work similar to what I do now. You'd be at the hotel before people wake up, and you're staying there until you get everyone tucked in at night. So kind of transitioned to a couple different jobs, and then came to Collierville back in 1995 and was working as an office manager in the dental field until I had my third child. And then it's like, this is just I'm not working to pay my daycare expense. And real estate was always something I wanted to do, but I just never made the time for it. Now, back in 2005, when my husband we moved here with his job, was told he had a job transition coming. It's like, what can we do to stay here?
Right.
So I cleared all my volunteer stuff, and I went to real estate school. On my way to school, I called Mr. John Green because I had a relationship with John through the Collierville Education Foundation.
Right.
And I called him and said, I'm going to real estate school. When I'm done, can I come work there? And of course, Mr. John, yes, sure. And that's how it kind of happened. So I didn't interview with all there's a lot of great companies out there, but I just knew his reputation, what he stood for, and that's where I ended up. And I've been there since 2006.
Wow. That's fantastic. Now, you talked about your husband had a transition in his career. What happened with his career?
Well, he was told he had a job till the end of the year, and it was November. Goodness. And then it's like he was out of work. He has his degree in agriculture, and so he was working for the United States Cotton Board. Okay. So prior to coming here, he was in advertising, the agency side. When he came here, he was working for the Cotton Board. So he then got a job working for the United States Potato Board. So there was an article many, many years ago about Mr. Potato Head, and I had different real estate agents call me the Mrs. Potato Head. And the kids were the Spuds. The little Spuds, yeah. And so it all, was fun for a while. So at that point, that job was in Denver, Colorado. Okay. So we decided, as a family, the kids were all involved. I was involved. I was elected. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for us to move with his job. So before COVID time, people, work from home. He basically traveled Monday through Thursday, came home usually on Friday to Denver or Idaho or Maine, anywhere they grow potatoes. And so that was about 10 years. Wow. So I was a busy mom, helping with my kids. Of course, he says I raised the kids. He had nothing to do with it because he wasn't here except on the weekends. But it worked. We made it work for the family. And well, see, that makes your history and your legacy of service even more impressive. The fact that and of course, as a family, y'all made those choices together to be able to make it work. But that's impressive all the way around. So congratulations. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's great. On your realtor bio page, we were kind of checking you out here a little bit. And there's a tagline above your bio that reads, "Community connections, client commitment." Now, for me and my business, community engagement and client service are incredibly important. And so I'm really interested in your point of view on that and what community connections and client commitment really means to you. Well, I try to each client that I have, whether they're looking to buy a house or sell a house, or they just want information, I try to make them feel like they are my most important client. And some people, I'm sure, probably have not selected me as a real estate agent because sometimes they think I'm too busy. Right. Which, a lot of times they'll say, Maureen, do you have time to take me on? And I try my best. Most of my business is all pretty much referrals. If I take care of a parent or a child, they'll tell someone or a friend. And I don't I try to help everybody.
Sure.
There's some agents out there that if you're not going to spend a certain level in a house, they're not going to help you.
Right.
Well, I will try to help anybody and everybody, whether they're the first-time home buyer to the adult retiree that's trying to downsize. But I have found that I try to be committed to each client. But the community connections, you have to be educated. You have to know what you're selling. You have to know what's going on. And so it all kind of works together because I do my best to keep my alderman hat separate from my real estate hat. And I've had people, they'll see me and they're like, well, you look really familiar. And I'll be like, well, you probably have seen me somewhere, around Collierville. Because I try to be out and about a lot. I'm not home that much. My dad, when he was...
you are out and about all the time.
My dad used to call me never home Maureen. He's like, why do you have a home when you're never home? But I love it. If I'm home during the day, like we had that ice storm last year, I think I was home for 4 days in a row. That is, I'm like, I got to get out of here.
Well, I have to ask this question. We talk about the level of service you try to provide for your clients and not mixing the role as alderman. But I've got to believe with the incredible shortage of houses that we have here in Collierville that are for sale, that they might be encouraging you to say, hey, Maureen, how about approving some more development so we can get a few more houses here in Collierville?
Well, and I've not ever worked for a builder, and I don't plan to work for a builder.
I'm teasing.
Because of that. I know that. But I do have other agents, and I try to help other people to be successful because there's over 5,000 realtors in our market.
Wow.
There is one for everybody. There are. And so I have other agents that will message me or ask me, Maureen, can you find any information? What's the development going in here? Because I want them to be successful. The worst thing is if I had somebody call me and say, Maureen, what's the name of the school that's being built here? And I'm like, that's not a school, that's an assisted living facility. So you have to know. This person was like, oh my, I just closed on this house so the kids could walk to school. So the community connections, you have to be educated. And even if you're not an elected official, you have to know where to go to get the information. And we have the Collierville town website that has the map gallery. I mean, I go there every day, at least a couple of times.
Sure. Because
I don't know everything. But I do try to help other people. So it's not just my clients, but other agents be successful.
Well, you talked about the role that you had in your career as you transitioned and the move that you made there. Tell me a little bit about the role, the process that led you to your current position as a public servant.
Oh, that is not something that I never thought I would do this. It kind of happened. It just evolved. And I think that happens to a lot of people that get in public service. James Llewellyn, our town administrator, he studied that. He has a master's that's public administration. That is his job and that is his career. Mayor Joyner is amazing, but he grew up in Collierville. And the more I've found that you got involved, the more you want to learn, and then the more you want to give back. So it kind of evolved, and I try to plant a seed in people, telling them, have you ever thought about running for office? And someone asked me that back in 2002, and my reaction was, there's no way in the world I would ever do that, with a few other words involved in there. People that know me will know what I said, but I thought to myself, there's no way I would do that. But through our history with PTA and then all the other things I got involved in, it was kind of a natural transition. But I find that it is time consuming, and it's definitely a commitment with your entire family in order to do it. Now, I say my job as an alderman is a lot different than Mayor Joyner's because the mayor has to be at things.
Exactly.
The alderman, if I can go to extra things, I go. If I can't, it's not like, oh my gosh, where's Maureen? Kind of thing. So it evolved. And some days I'm thinking, well, how in the world did I do this? And then I ask myself, why am I doing this? But then you look around the community and you see such an amazing community that we live in. And to know that you had just a small part in that, it makes it all worthwhile.
Oh, it can be self-fulfilling when you see that. Well, and you've been able to accomplish so much. But as you've accomplished these things, what would you say, whether it be in business or whether it be in your public service work, has been the biggest obstacle that you faced in your career? And how have you been able to, or how were you able to overcome that?
I think it's an obstacle that I still deal with every day, is how to balance everything. There's that cliche work home, I don't even know what it is, home life balance, with your church and your home and your family. And there's a lot of things. I pretty much after so many years gave up on fixing dinner at 6 o'clock at night. I'd buy the groceries and then they would nothing would happen with them.
Exactly.
So there's things that my family definitely sacrificed because of it. But if we look back now, I think, we did okay. We survived. They're all on their own. They're all doing really, really well. But now at my age, I'm not really responsible for anybody but myself. Mm-hmm. So if I want to stay at the office until 10 o'clock at night, I can't. Mm-hmm. There's nobody really checking or looking for me to be doing something, if that makes sense.
Sure. Absolutely. In my opinion, I think that of other people's, you're one of the most respected individuals in the entire town of Collierville.
Well, thank you.
We talked about earlier this incredibly impressive resume, and obviously, and one that I still think was so perfect right on was when you were named as Person of the Year back in 2019 by the Chamber. I think that speaks volumes about the life you lead, the kind of person you are. What would you say would be your philosophy of leadership?
My philosophy has always been honesty. Mm-hmm. I think if you're honest, and that's something my mom, who's just turned 89 years old, that she has instilled in me, and I can still remember her saying, she'd say, Maureen, you have to be honest, because the minute you start not telling the truth, you don't know what the truth is anymore. Mm-hmm. And some people say, Maureen, you're a politician. You're not honest. I'm like, I'm not a politician. I'm an elected official. And to me, that makes a big difference. I hear of some things that go on, and I'm like, I don't even know. Collierville government, our elected officials, as far as I know, we don't do that politics stuff. Like I'm going to vote this way if you vote this way. My philosophy is honesty, and I think that is what sometimes I'm maybe too honest. Mm-hmm. I have some facial expressions that when our finance director and assistant finance director, before they both retired, they told me at their retirement that they would always sit at the board chambers down here so they could see my facial expressions. And I'm like, are they that bad? So I think honesty will get you wherever you need to go.
Well, you can never go wrong with true honesty, and I think that's so important. And I love when you talk about the facial expressions and how I know in my time as an elected official, that was something that I was trying to constantly be aware of because I often wore my emotions on my sleeve, and I also, people would say, well, how do you feel about being a politician? I said, I don't consider myself to be a politician. I consider myself to be an advocate.
There you go.
And but I think clearly our job is to serve the people that elected us and serve our community and serve the children, and you've done it so very well. So thank you for that.
I'm not good about I see all that. I'm like, that's somebody else. That's not me. And I know when you mentioned the Collierville Person of the Year, that was a shock for me because I used to think you had to be really, really old to get that award, and then I'm up there going, oh my goodness, it's me. I am getting old, but
no, you're not. No,
my kids tell me I don't act my age, so I guess that's okay.
And I think that's the most important. Don't ever start acting your age.
Yeah.
So of all the things that you have accomplished, what is the one initiative that you are the most proud of in your career?
I believe as a board together, it wasn't just one individual, but everyone the community working together to form our own Collierville school system, the municipal school system. The amount of work that went involved in that. And like I said, I wasn't in the day-to-day. I wasn't with the mayor and Mr. Llewellyn and Mr. Atkin going down to Nashville and Mark Norris and all the people that helped make that happen. But just being involved enough and seeing what it took to make that happen. That has got to be the biggest accomplishment in Collierville.
Well, without question. And such a defining moment for the town.
It really is. Even to this day.
Oh, to this day. We've always talked about that idea of educational autonomy and being able to really have that control over the direction of your future, of your community. And I believe it's one of the reasons why we have the type of property values and the type of engagement that we have in this community. So, again, I think that will be an accomplishment that will resonate for generations.
I believe so, and I think that has been a defining feature for Collierville, even with my real estate career and just in the entire Memphis area. When you have the mayor of Shelby County coming out to Collierville High School saying that we want every Shelby County high school to look like Collierville High School, that to me is like, wow, we really did it.
You definitely have done that, no question. So with any board, You know, there can be disagreements that can come up from time to time. You've got a variety of different personalities, different points of view. So how would you think that, or how would you feel that the board mayor and alderman in Collierville have been able to handle, those occasional disagreements? And how have you found that the group has been able to address those, overcome those, and reach the type of consensus to really lead the community?
I truly believe everyone that's elected at this time, because I've been elected for several years, so I've been with many different elected officials, but I truly believe everyone has the best interest of Collierville at heart. I don't believe anybody's making a decision for their personal gain or their personal growth or whatever it may be. Just working together. When we were going through the appointment of Chief Lane for the police department, which we had just appointed another person like 2 years prior. And when we were going through that, just the discussions, we had to make the right decision because we had not made the right decision, and
Right.
For all of Collierville, it was so very important. And then you look at what happened in September, and what would have been different had we had a different police chief. So there was a lot of discussion that happened, and initially there were different ideas and different opinions, but ultimately we all came to a consensus that when we leave this room, we are all going to be congruent, we're all going to agree. And that was tough for me because Chief Ablin has been an assistant chief for 30 plus years.
Right.
And so it was tough, but fortunately we made the right decision. Chief Lane is working very well with Chief Ablin, and it couldn't be better in our police department.
Without question. We were very blessed to have Chief Lane on here right after the incident. And I'm just in awe of him.
I can't have eye contact.
The grace, the dedication, the commitment. This is the man that you look at him and you know what he's all about. You know he's a man of faith.
Definitely.
He's a man of passionate commitment to his community, to his people, and he prepared that police department so very well. And in turn, what was it? At one point, the worst day for Collierville, but in a way turned into one of the best days.
It really, you still see banners around Collierville that say Collierville Strong, and I still talk about it. I'm going to get emotional, but I'm trying not to. Here goes my facial expressions again. But it was really tough. When I got that phone call, and I was actually showing real estate in Germantown, and my phone rang, and then my phone rang again, and I said, "Excuse me just a second." And I took my call, and it was Mr. Llewellyn, and the people I'm with had said, "Maureen, is everything okay?" And I said, "No, there's an active shooter situation at Kroger." And they're like, "We don't like the house anyway, go." And so we hurried up and walked it out, and I don't know which house we were in Germantown.
Right.
But, and I came down Poplar Avenue heading east, and you cannot imagine the number of emergency vehicles that I had to keep pulling over because they were coming from just one after the other. But then when I turned the corner to turn into Poplar and Byhalia Road and I saw what was going on, oh my gosh. And then on the way, I got a phone call from Mrs. King's son. And I said, and it was through Facebook. I didn't know, Facebook, social media has a good point and it has some bad things.
Yes.
And we can talk about that in a whole nother show for about 3 hours. But it was a phone call coming through Facebook. And I'm like, I don't even, I need to answer this.
Right.
And I did. And it was her oldest son, Jason, and said, "Maureen, Mom, we just got a phone call. Mom's at Kroger and she's been shot." And I said, "Jason, I'm on my way to Kroger now. I will find her and I will be with her." And when I went to turn the corner, oh my goodness. And I saw one of our off-duty firemen with a clipboard, and he was, I said, "Look, I'm looking for Olivia King. I need to find Olivia King." And he's like, "Maureen, I don't know. I'm just checking numbers of ambulances that are coming and going." I said, "Have ambulances already left?" And he said, "Yes." So that's how fast the fire department, the first responders. And so I went to assistant fire chief, and I said, "I'm looking for Olivia King." And he kind of had this look on his face, and I'm thinking, that's not good.
That's not good.
And she had already been transported down to Region 1.
Wow.
So, yeah, I remember that day. And it's a little over 6 months now.
Yes. Well, certainly anyone who was anywhere close will never forget that day. And again, thank you to the Board of Mayor and Alderman for making the right choice
We
in
did.
the selection of chief, our chief there. Let's change the subject a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah, no. Let's talk a little bit about your service through PTA. As you know, I share your passion for public education advocacy. Why was it important for you to get involved in this capacity through PTA? And what were some of the valuable lessons that you learned through your service and leadership in PTA?
Well, PTA is a lot about working together. And I've always said no one's going to advocate for your children more than that's the parents. Okay, so if I'm involved with my kids' school, I know who their friends are, I know who their teachers are, I know what the needs are within the school, and hopefully there's something I can do to help them. So it's just all working together. And then, Halloween, people would come to my house and they say, "You work at my school?" And I'd be like, "Well, I volunteer at your school. I'm not paid at your school." But it's, again, some of the staff, they count on you, and even to this day, I still have some teachers that respond to me, ask me, "Hey, can you help with this? Can you do this?" And I love it. I just love it, even though my kids are gone. It's so important, especially at the younger years, to set the base for those kids, and they see the parents there, and they know that you care about them, and it is about caring.
It means everything. One of the things that I was so proud of when I was with board chairman is that we had 2 years in 2001 and 2002, I believe it was, that Shelby County was the only community anywhere in the country that had 100% PTA membership, and we actually had a board policy that required that every school had an active and engaged PTA, and it's so important. I know my wife served five
Yes.
years as a PTA president. That's where we met first at a Shelby County Council meeting. But great stuff. Well, we talked earlier about all the different roles you serve as an alderman, and the liaison capacity with the Parks Advisory Board, the Tourism Advisory Board, the Main Street Collierville. Describe, if you would, a little bit to the viewers some of the duties that you serve as a liaison to these various different committees.
Okay. Each year in January, our board appoints. In the fall, we appoint new board members. So anyone in the community can fill out an application and apply to serve on boards and commissions. The Planning Commission is a commission that the mayor has sole appointment authority. So I have people that want to serve on the Planning Commission because they may not like what's happening here, or, we're hearing now about another chicken restaurant. Why do we need another chicken restaurant in Collierville? Maureen, you need to vote no. And so the liaison, we all choose in January, well, not choose, but we get appointed in January, just like I have been appointed as the vice mayor. We choose a board or commission that we are the liaison. So Parks Advisory Board is just something that I've been involved with for many, many years with my kids. I believe there's 9 members on that board, and they're an advisory board to the mayor and board of aldermen. So look at the parks, the parkland, where do we need things? We're trying to get more pickleball courts right now in Collierville because that's trying to stay ahead. We have a lot of diversity in our community. There's a lot of the Indian population that want a cricket field. Well, you can't just use a soccer field as a cricket field because it's much bigger and you've got the ball that's going every which direction. So different needs, we try to take the needs of the community and then try to go to the mayor and board for the funding to fulfill those needs. So it's more of an advisory as far as, you listen. I don't have a vote on any of them. Main Street Collierville, they're getting ready for the Taste of the Town and the Summer Concert Series. So there'll be some questions that coming back more, and I've had a history there. A lot of the board members on Main Street Collierville now are younger and they don't have the experience, which is great. But there's not that consistent old person that kind of knows what has happened in the past.
Institutional knowledge.
Institutional knowledge. There you go. I like that.
That's a nice way of saying it.
That's better to say that old person. But
the old gray-headed person over there. All right.
Yes. So just to be available to them. Most of what I do is just to be available, accessible, and availability.
That's great. My office is right next to the town hall, and I'm often walking on the lake, around the lake there, and there used to be a lot of cricket games that would show up on a Sunday afternoon in the area just behind the library.
Yes.
And but we have a wonderfully diverse community and a lot of interest out there, and so I can certainly see some of the challenges that y'all have from the park standpoint of having the infrastructure to be able to support all of this diversity of need.
That's right. And to mow it, the contracts to to maintain it, and the restroom buildings and the lighting and all that goes with it.
Nothing. Now, you talked about Planning Commission, but you also served as a member of the Design Review Committee.
Yes.
I actually served on DRC in Germantown. We understand, I think many of us, the historic significance of Collierville and the great legacy and the history that we have. So I think we understand how important it is to preserve the unique character of Collierville while respecting the history. So when you look at this role, then what were some of the challenges that you faced as a member of the Design Review Commission? And what was the most enjoyable part of serving in that capacity?
You know, when you serve on a board and commission, again, it's not your personal opinion. You have to look at the ordinances and the restrictions and what you're allowed. One controversial, which is still pertinent today, is the Zaxby's chicken. Okay, back then we have certain regulations for colors, and back then you were only allowed 3 colors on your sign. So we had this big discussion in this meeting about the color of the chicken, and most people were in this minutia, but it was so important because they were allowed 3 colors. What 3 colors were they going to choose? So if you go by the Zaxby's, you'll see there's no red in the chicken unless it's changed. Now the rules have changed.
Correct.
So now they may have changed their sign. I really haven't paid much attention to it since then, but that's kind of something that we had to deal with. So it's a big items. Like this past Monday night, we voted to approve the development for a Chipotle and a Jersey Mike's.
Right.
And so the DRC has already looked at that. So that has gone through all of these steps before it comes to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. So they've already looked at the setback, the landscaping, where the door is located, how many parking spaces. There's so much that goes into it that I don't know that the average citizen realizes. As a DRC, we had to prove the signage.
Right.
We're dealing now with how do we deal with this post-COVID signage? Because our sign policies right now, they don't allow you to have a sign in a bucket with concrete that says pick up your order here.
Right.
That's not the Collierville way. So how can we be business friendly and still allow them to do their drive up or whatever the new way they're doing their business, and still comply with the sign? So we've kind of laid back on all that because of COVID, because there were so many things going on.
Right.
But at some point, we're going to have to step back and amend our sign guidelines and get it out to everyone to say, okay, enough. If you're going to still do pickup, you need to have a professional sign. It needs to be a certain size and all of that. So I'm getting more detail. But
that's all right. I find it fascinating how the rules have evolved over the years. And having served again in Germantown on Design Review and in the Planning Commission in Germantown, now I watched that evolution. And of course, since Patrick Lawton, the administrator in Germantown, who recently retired, and then also James Llewellyn used to work together.
Right.
A lot of commonality in that. And some of the interesting battles we had in Germantown over signage were pretty classic a few years ago as well.
Yes, it is. And it's constant, and business owners, like our Aldi in Collierville, when it was built, was the only Aldi in the nation like the one in Collierville, because we did it different. So a lot of times the professionals, they'll come to us and say, this is what we want to build, and they have different plans in different drawers. So the Collierville way, they might have to go to their bottom drawer. They might have to do a little more brick and, more landscaping. But that's what makes Collierville.
Exactly. That's what people want, because they want they want a certain look. So I think it's important.
And I think, too, a lot of people don't realize what we have in Collierville until they go look at other places. And then you compare. I mean, I remember my son, when he was in 3rd grade, we went somewhere and he's like, Mom, look at all this visual pollution. I'm like, I almost had a wreck. I'm like, what do you know about visual pollution? I guess he had listened to me too much.
Wow. Well, Maureen, in 2012, you were the recipient of another award, the Main Street Collierville Spirit of Giving Award. On that note, why do you think giving back is so important to any community?
Well, you give back. It shows you love the community. You care about the community. You care about the people in the community. And I've always found you get so much back in return. A lot of what I don't do what I do for me. I want to do it for the future. I want my kids to be proud of the community that they live in or they grew up in, or hopefully they want to come back to. And I have, like I said, my son's here, and I don't know that, he will leave
Good.
At some point, but he loves it here.
That's great. What keeps you motivated?
Oh, keeps me motivated. I think having a good time,
Okay.
the people I meet, knowing that hopefully I can make a difference every day. And I think if people see me as positive, witty, sometimes I can be serious if I need to be serious. And some people know when I'm serious by my facial expression. But the motivation to me is just trying to help others and help the community every day be better and better and better.
You know, you made a couple of comments about the facial expression. We talked about that. I have to give some prop, if you would, to a lady who actually we have just finished celebrating her life, Madeline Albright, one of the first female Secretary of State, and I had the honor of meeting her a few years ago, and she was talking about how her staff could always tell her, kind of mood that she was in by the type of pendant that she would be wearing on her jacket.
Okay.
And so with you, they look at the face. With Madeline, they were looking at the pin. So
maybe I need to get a pendant.
There we go. We can have a whole new style here.
There we go. Madeline Maureen.
There we go, Madeline Maureen. I like it. So, in your opinion, what makes a great servant leader?
Someone who's not doing it for their own benefit. Someone who's doing it to help others. And I know you hear servant leader a lot. You know, I serve, I want to lead, I want to serve, but I want to do it to help the community be a better community. You know, I always say there's no place better. And I know you remember Mayor Linda Curley. Linda Curley had a saying that a bad day in Collierville is better than a good day anywhere else. And I still think about that and thinking, you know, do we really have a bad day in Collierville? When we have a lot of rain and some people have flooding issues, I mean, that could be a bad day. That is a bad day in Collierville. And we had some, because of our growth, we have some infrastructure challenges. And, water's going to flow where water's going to flow. And, sometimes I know myself and several other of the elected officials, when it starts raining really hard, we're like, please, dear God, let the rain stop. Because our system can only handle so much.
Right.
So I'm getting off on a tangent, but it's working really hard to make the community a better place.
And I think that is part of being a servant leader is when it starts raining, your mind immediately goes to, oh my gosh, here are some of the issues that may come out. And so we need to be prepared for that.
And is there anything I can do to help people?
Absolutely. You've talked about a number of amazing Colliervillians. Which Colliervillian has made the greatest impact on your life?
I would say, since I have been in office since 2003, prior to that I was a graduate of Leadership Collierville, I would have to say it would be Mr. Llewellyn. He is just a wealth of knowledge. Before I was involved in the community, and he knows this story, he scared me to death. I was afraid to even call him, pick up the phone and call him. I had to plan as Leadership Collierville graduate. I planned local government day for the next year, and I had to, get all the sponsors and the location and the speakers, and I had to call Mr. Llewellyn, and I was a nervous wreck to call him. But now, after so many years, I mean, he is as invested in this community as the elected officials, and then some. The caring that he has for this community. I know he's been on the show, so hopefully people will then watch his segment. But he's humble. He's classy. Some people don't understand at first his sense of humor, but he is a lot of fun. And he's just an all-around great guy who loves Collierville.
He is exactly that, and a tremendous legacy. And another Collierville Person of the Year. He
is, and hopefully, he's planning his retirement. But I keep telling him, James, you're not retiring. I know you're not. So he thinks I'm crazy, but I'm sure at some point he deserves a wonderful retirement. He really does, but he will be missed by so many.
No question. We are filming this wonderful show inside of Collierville High School, this great place. What message would you like to impart to the students of Collierville High School when it comes to leadership?
For the students, I would say ask a lot of questions, be yourself, and be willing to put yourself out there. Don't. Everybody's got something that they can share, and what their talent, their interest, they just need to be out there and try to be a leader. Even get yourself out of the comfort zone, because like I said, I never thought this is something I would do, but everyone has an impact. Everyone can influence someone.
Right.
And overall, just be honest.
Well, you keep reflecting on those three things, those three words, and you've done a really good job. I like that. Now, but one thing you said that I have to disagree with. You keep talking about how old you are, because you've got many more years of great service. But when you look back in 40, 50 years, when you are retiring from service, when you reflect on your career, what would you hope would be the legacy of Maureen Fraser?
Oh my goodness, that's a really tough question. My legacy, I hope people will think of Maureen as someone who was hardworking, dedicated, and had a good time in whatever she did.
Pretty darn good legacy. Maureen, I want to thank you for joining us on Bull TV, sharing your story, sharing your background, sharing your passion. You truly have been a role model for so many people in this community. And I believe, again, I think you're an icon of our community.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, I mean, you're not bragging yourself, I'm bragging on you.
Okay.
And, the leadership, the dignity that you consistently display is something that we can all learn from. And I wish you nothing but success as you continue to advocate for this amazing place, for this community of Collierville. So thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was such an honor.
Well, we'd love to have you.
Thank you.
One of my heroes was the legendary British Prime Minister, Sir Winston Churchill, a man who truly dedicated his entire life to serving the British people. Churchill believed steadfastly in the principle of service over self. He once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." Each of us has been blessed with the ability to make a difference in our community, state, and nation by giving of our time, our talent, or our treasure. Each of us has the ability to leave a lasting legacy through a commitment to giving back and paying forward the blessings in which we have been bestowed. Each of us has the capacity to live a life that lives a long shadow for all to follow by engaging in good works and a life of cheerful service. Each of us can enrich our world by making a difference in the life of a child, a friend, or a family member. My dear friend Maureen Fraser is a shining example of Churchill's words. Her life has been a living testament to engaged citizenship and meaningful service. She may never realize fully the impact of her service or the lives her service has benefited. She serves not for notoriety, fame, or fortune, but have a personal desire to make a difference. Our American experiment in representative government is dependent on the willingness of our citizens to accept the shared responsibility of leadership and service. From the earliest days of our founding fathers, nearly 250 years ago, America has relied upon its citizens to embrace the challenge of self-governance and community service. From our faith-based leaders to community volunteers to citizen soldiers to elected officials, the strength of our nation has been forged by the everyday heroes who accept the essential role that each of us must play to build and preserve the fabric of our democracy. We, the people of these United States, will be the architects of our future. Each of us will help determine the type of community and nation we will leave for our children and grandchildren. Each of us also has the ability to leave a long shadow of selfless service and community engagement. Each of us is an inheritor of the American dream, and each of us has the opportunity and the responsibility to lead future generations by the examples of our lives of service to others. Are you making a living by what you get? Or are you truly making a life by what you give? And that is my 2 cents. Until next time, I'm your host, David Pickler. Thank you for watching Bull TV, where together we deliver solutions for a stronger community.